The fluorescent lights hummed overhead in the sterile medical examination room, casting harsh shadows across the white walls. Staff Sergeant Elena Vasquez stood at attention, her jaw set in that familiar military bearing that had carried her through 8 years of service. But today, something was different. Today, the routine medical examination that every soldier dreaded would reveal a secret that had been carved into her very skin. A secret that would change everything the moment the base doctor laid eyes on it. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Dr. Marcus Webb had conducted thousands of these examinations during his 15-year tenure as the chief medical officer at Fort Braxton. He'd seen every type of soldier walk through his doors. The fresh-faced recruits, still smelling of home, the battle-hardened veterans carrying invisible wounds, and everything in between. But he had never encountered anything quite like what he was about to discover on this seemingly ordinary Tuesday morning in March. Elena had been stationed at Fort Braxton for 18 months, transferred from a classified assignment overseas that her personnel file only referenced with redacted black lines, and security clearances far above Dr. Webb's pay grade. She was known among her peers as a consummate professional, quiet, efficient, and deadly accurate on the firing range. Her superiors praised her discipline, her subordinates respected her fairness, and her equals appreciated her dry humor that occasionally broke through her otherwise stoic demeanor. But Elena carried more than just the standard-issue military bearing. Beneath her uniform, etched permanently into the skin between her shoulder blades, was a tattoo that told a story of shadows and silence, of missions that officially never happened, and enemies that were never supposed to exist. It was a simple design at first glance, a cross with crosshairs centered perfectly over the intersection. To most, it might appear to be nothing more than a religious symbol with some decorative elements. But to those who knew, to those who operated in the world where Elena had spent the previous 3 years of her life, it was something else entirely. The Sniper's Cross, a mark that identified her as one of the military's most elite and secretive operatives. Dr. Webb knocked twice on the examination room door before entering, clipboard in hand, and his usual professional smile in place. "Good morning, Staff Sergeant Vasquez. I hope you're ready for another thrilling round of military medicine." His attempt at humor was met with Elena's characteristic slight nod, though he caught the briefest hint of tension around her eyes that he'd learned to recognize in soldiers who'd seen more than their share of action. "Just the usual checkup, Doc?" Elena asked, her voice carrying the slight accent of her Texas upbringing, though it had been tempered by years of military training and international assignments. "Standard annual physical, nothing too invasive, blood work, cardiovascular assessment, the whole 9 yards. You know the drill." Dr. Webb settled into his chair and began reviewing her file. "I see you've had quite the career path here. Some interesting gaps in your service record." Elena's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her posture, an almost imperceptible tightening that spoke of secrets carefully guarded. "Special assignments, Doc. You know how it is with classifications." Indeed, Dr. Webb did know. Fort Braxton housed more than its share of soldiers whose service records looked like abstract art pieces, all black bars and classified stamps. He'd learned long ago not to push too hard for details that weren't his to know, but he was curious by nature, and Elena Vasquez's file was more mysterious than most. As the examination progressed through the standard routine, checking reflexes, listening to heart and lung sounds, reviewing her vaccination records, Dr. Webb found himself impressed by Elena's physical condition. At 28 years old, she maintained the kind of fitness that spoke of someone who took their military readiness seriously. Her muscle tone suggested regular strength training beyond the standard PT requirements, and her reaction times during the reflex tests were exceptionally quick. "Everything looks good so far," Dr. Webb commented as he made notes on his clipboard. "Your fitness scores are consistently in the top percentile. Whatever you've been doing to stay in shape, keep it up." "Just doing my job, Doc," Elena replied, though there was something in her tone that suggested her definition of doing her job might differ significantly from the average soldier's experience. Dr. Webb continued with his examination, checking her arms and hands for any signs of injury or stress. He noticed several small scars on her knuckles and fingers, the kind that came from hands-on work in unforgiving environments.
There was also a thin line on her left forearm that looked like it might have come from shrapnel, though her medical record showed no mention of combat injuries. "These scars," he said, gesturing to her arm. "Anything I should be aware of, medically?" Elena glanced down at the marks as if seeing them for the first time. "Training accidents mostly. You know how it is with live fire exercises." Dr. Webb nodded, though something told him there was more to the story. In his experience, soldiers who had genuinely been injured during training were usually more forthcoming with details. Those who'd been hurt in circumstances they couldn't discuss often gave exactly the kind of vague, dismissive answers Elena was providing. As the examination neared the portion where Elena would need to remove her uniform shirt for a full back and chest examination, Dr. Webb noticed her demeanor shift slightly. The change was subtle. A deeper breath, a momentary closing of her eyes, a slight tension in her shoulders that spoke of someone preparing for something they'd rather avoid. "I'll need you to remove your shirt now for the upper body examination. There's a gown on the table if you'd prefer." Elena nodded and began unbuttoning her uniform shirt with the mechanical precision of someone who had done this countless times before. But as she prepared to reveal what lay beneath, she found herself thinking about the moment 3 years ago when she had made the decision to get the tattoo. It had been after her third confirmed kill as a sniper, after a mission in the mountains of Afghanistan that had pushed her skills and her conscience to their absolute limits. The tattoo artist had been a former Marine who operated out of a small shop near another base, someone who understood the weight of military service and the need for symbols that carried meaning beyond mere decoration. Elena had explained what she wanted, something that honored her role while remaining subtle enough to avoid drawing unwanted attention. The sniper's cross had been his suggestion, and the moment she saw the design, she knew it was perfect. Now, as she prepared to reveal that symbol to someone who might or might not understand its significance, Elena felt the familiar weight of secrets that had defined so much of her military career. In a few seconds, Dr. Webb would see not just another tattoo, but a mark that could potentially unravel carefully constructed covers and expose missions that were meant to remain buried in classified files. Dr. Webb waited patiently as Elena folded her uniform shirt and placed it neatly on the chair beside the examination table. He had conducted this routine thousands of times, and he approached each examination with the same professional detachment, regardless of what he might discover. But as Elena turned around to face away from him, presenting her back for examination, nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to see.
The moment Dr. Webb's eyes focused on the tattoo between Elena's shoulder blades, the entire atmosphere in the room shifted. His pen stopped moving across the clipboard, his breathing caught for just an instant, and his professional composure wavered in a way that hadn't happened in over a decade of military medicine. There, etched in precise black ink, with an artistry that spoke of careful planning and deep significance, was the sniper's cross. Dr. Webb's military background ran deeper than his medical credentials might suggest. Before medical school, he had served as an enlisted man in the Army Rangers, and during his deployment in Iraq, he had worked closely with forward reconnaissance teams that included some of the military's most elite snipers. He knew the symbol. More than that, he understood what it represented, not just marksmanship skills, but a level of operational capability that existed in the shadows of official military doctrine. The cross itself was about 3 inches in height, perfectly centered between Elena's shoulder blades. The vertical and horizontal lines were rendered in bold, clean strokes, while the crosshairs were delicately detailed, creating a design that appeared almost three-dimensional against her olive skin. Around the base of the cross, barely visible unless examined closely, were small numerical markings that Dr. Webb recognized as range calculations, the kind of mathematical notations that long-range precision shooters used to account for wind, elevation, and distance over distances exceeding 1,000 meters. Elena felt the silence stretch behind her and knew that Dr. Webb had seen it. She had been through this moment before, though not often, and never in circumstances quite like these. The few medical professionals who had examined her during her classified assignments had possessed security clearances that made such discoveries routine parts of their professional discretion. But Dr. Webb was different. He was a base doctor at a stateside installation, someone whose clearance level likely didn't extend to the operational details of her previous assignments. "Staff Sergeant," Dr. Webb said, finally, his voice carrying a note of recognition that made Elena's spine stiffen. "That's quite an intricate tattoo. The craftsmanship is very precise." Elena kept her eyes fixed on the wall in front of her, her military training taking over as she prepared to navigate what could become a very delicate conversation. "Thank you, sir. I had it done a few years back." Dr. Webb set down his clipboard and moved closer, ostensibly to continue his examination, but in reality trying to process the implications of what he was seeing. The tattoo wasn't just decorative art. It was a professional signature, a mark of identity within a very specific and highly classified community. But more than that, the quality of the work and the specific details included in the design suggested that Elena wasn't just someone who had admired snipers from afar. This was the mark of someone who had earned the right to wear it. "The detail work is remarkable," Dr. Webb continued, maintaining his professional tone while his mind raced through memories of briefings and classified operations he had supported years earlier. "The mathematical notations around the base of the tattoo, are those decorative or do they serve a specific purpose?" Elena's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. She had hoped the examination would proceed without detailed questions about the tattoo, but she should have known better. Anyone with military experience who took the time to really look at the design would recognize that the numbers weren't random decorations. "They have meaning to me," Elena replied carefully, neither confirming nor denying the military significance of the markings. Personal significance. Dr. Webb nodded and continued his examination, checking Elena's back for any signs of injury or stress while processing the magnitude of what he had discovered. The numerical sequences around the tattoo's base weren't just range calculations. They were specific to certain types of long-range engagements that required mathematical precision measured in fractions of degrees and adjustments calculated to compensate for environmental factors that could affect a projectile's path over distances exceeding 1,000 meters. As he examined her shoulder and neck areas, Dr. Webb noticed other details that began to form a pattern. Elena's muscle development showed the kind of asymmetrical strengthening that came from repeatedly assuming prone shooting positions while supporting the weight of precision rifle systems. Her right shoulder showed slightly more developed musculature than her left, consistent with someone who had spent countless hours behind a rifle scope. Even her posture, while she stood waiting for his examination to continue, reflected the discipline of someone trained to remain motionless for extended periods of time. "You can turn around now," Dr. Webb said, stepping back to give Elena space to face him again. As Elena turned around, Dr. Webb caught sight of her eyes for the first time since discovering the tattoo, and what he saw there confirmed his growing suspicions. These weren't the typical staff sergeant with 8 years of conventional military service. They held a quality of focused intensity that he had seen before in special operations personnel, a kind of hyper-awareness that came from missions where the margin for error was measured in millimeters and milliseconds. Elena reached for her uniform shirt, but Dr. Webb raised a hand to indicate that the examination wasn't finished. "I still need to complete the cardiovascular assessment," he said, though his tone had shifted subtly. There was a new level of respect in his voice, tinged with curiosity and perhaps a hint of recognition between fellow veterans who had operated in similar circles, albeit in different capacities. As Dr. Webb listened to Elena's heart rate and breathing, he found himself thinking about the classified briefings he had attended during his deployment.
sessions where intelligence officers had discussed the role of precision shooters in counterterrorism operations. He remembered presentations about the psychological profiles of successful snipers, individuals who possessed not only exceptional marksmanship skills, but also the mental discipline to operate alone for extended periods in hostile territory, making life-and-death decisions with limited support and absolute accountability. "Your resting heart rate is remarkably low," Dr. Webb observed as he removed the stethoscope from his ears. 52 beats per minute. That's the kind of cardiovascular conditioning I usually see in endurance athletes or individuals who have undergone very specialized physical training. Elena nodded but offered no additional explanation. Her training had taught her that silence was often the most appropriate response when discussions began trending toward operational details. She could sense that Dr. Webb was fishing for information, though she wasn't entirely sure whether his interest stemmed from professional medical curiosity or something more significant. Dr. Webb returned to his clipboard and made several notes, using the time to organize his thoughts about how to proceed. Protocol dictated that he complete the examination according to standard procedures, but the discovery of Elena's tattoo had introduced variables that standard procedures didn't account for. He found himself in the unusual position of examining a soldier whose background suggested capabilities and experiences that extended far beyond conventional military service, yet he lacked the security clearance to ask direct questions about those experiences. "Your overall physical condition is exceptional," Dr. Webb said as he completed his notes. "Better than exceptional, actually. Your fitness levels, reaction times, and cardiovascular conditioning suggest training regimens that go significantly beyond standard military PT requirements." Elena finished buttoning her uniform shirt and straightened her posture back into the formal military bearing she maintained during official interactions. "I take physical fitness seriously, sir. Always have." Dr. Webb studied her face, noting the controlled expression and the careful way she answered questions without providing unnecessary information. It was a communication style he recognized from his own military experience, the way people spoke when they were accustomed to operating under strict operational security protocols. "I need to ask," Dr. Webb said, setting down his clipboard and adopting a more direct tone. "Are there any aspects of your previous assignments or training that might be relevant to your medical care? Exposure to unusual environmental conditions, specialized equipment, or activities that might have placed unique physical or psychological stresses on your system?" The question hung in the air between them, laden with implications that both individuals understood but couldn't directly address. Elena found herself at a crossroads that she had hoped to avoid. She could provide the standard deflections about classified assignments and need-to-know basis information, or she could trust that Dr. Webb's military background and professional discretion would allow for a more honest assessment of her medical needs. Elena made a decision that surprised even herself.
"Doc," she said, her voice taking on a tone of cautious trust, "let me ask you something. During your military service, did you ever work with forward reconnaissance teams or special operations units?" Dr. Webb raised an eyebrow at the unexpected turn in their conversation. "I did, actually. I was attached to several Ranger operations in Iraq, providing medical support for extended reconnaissance missions. Why do you ask?" Elena studied his face for a moment, as if evaluating whether to proceed with whatever she was considering. "Then you understand that some soldiers carry experiences that don't fit neatly into standard medical categories, experiences that require a different level of understanding?" The acknowledgement passed between them like a shared secret, an understanding that transcended the formal doctor-patient relationship. Dr. Webb found himself nodding slowly, recognizing the weight of what Elena was implying. "I understand," he said simply, "and I want you to know that anything we discuss in this room stays in this room, within the bounds of medical confidentiality and professional discretion." Elena felt some of the tension leave her shoulders. For the first time since entering the examination room, she allowed herself to believe that this encounter might not require the careful deflections and half-truths that had become second nature during her years of classified service.
With the unspoken understanding established between them, the dynamic in the examination room shifted into something resembling a conversation between veterans rather than a routine medical procedure. Dr. Webb gestured toward the chair beside his desk, an invitation for Elena to sit down for what was clearly going to become a more detailed discussion than either of them had anticipated. "Elena," Dr. Webb said, using her first name for the first time during the examination, "I want to make sure I'm providing you with the best medical care possible. But to do that effectively, I need to understand the full scope of what your body and mind have been through. I'm not asking for classified operational details, but I need to know about physical stresses, environmental exposures, psychological pressures, anything that might impact your long-term health." Elena settled into the chair and, for the first time since entering the room, allowed some of her carefully maintained composure to relax. She had spent 3 years deflecting medical questions, providing just enough information to satisfy routine examinations while protecting the classified nature of her assignments. But sitting across from Dr. Webb, she sensed an opportunity for the kind of honest medical assessment she hadn't received since her initial special operations training. "The tattoo you saw," Elena began, choosing her words carefully. "It represents 3 years of service and capacities that aren't reflected in my official personnel file. During that time, I was exposed to environmental conditions and stress factors that were significant." Dr. Webb leaned forward slightly, his demeanor shifting into the focused attention of a medical professional encountering a complex case. "What kind of environmental factors are we talking about? Extreme temperatures, high altitude, chemical exposures?" "All of the above at various times," Elena replied. "Extended periods in mountainous terrain at altitudes exceeding 12,000 feet. Desert operations in temperatures reaching 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Urban environments with potential for chemical or biological contamination. And," she paused, considering how to phrase the next part, "extended periods of physical immobility in hostile territory." Dr. Webb began making notes, his medical training taking over as he processed the implications of what Elena was describing. Each environmental factor she mentioned carried specific health risks and potential long-term effects that wouldn't be addressed by standard military medical protocols. "When you mention extended periods of immobility," Dr. Webb said, looking up from his notes, "are we talking about situations where you might have remained in fixed positions for hours or even days at a time?" Elena nodded. "Sometimes 72 hours or more, with minimal movement and limited opportunities for normal physiological functions. Often in prone positions, supporting equipment weight of 40 to 60 pounds, maintaining visual focus on distant targets for extended periods of time." Dr. Webb set down his pen and studied Elena's face. What she was describing went far beyond the physical demands of conventional military service. The human body wasn't designed to remain motionless for extended periods while maintaining the kind of mental acuity required for precision operations. The fact that Elena had performed such duties repeatedly over a 3-year period suggested both exceptional physical conditioning and potential for long-term orthopedic and neurological effects. "Have you experienced any chronic pain issues, back problems, joint stiffness, vision strain, or neurological symptoms like numbness or tingling in your extremities?" "Some lower back tension," Elena admitted, "nothing I can't manage, but it's more noticeable now than it was a few years ago, and sometimes I get headaches after long periods of concentrated focus, though I've always attributed that to eye strain."
Dr. Webb made additional notes, recognizing patterns that were consistent with what he was beginning to understand about Elena's previous assignments. The combination of extended immobility, equipment weight, and intense visual concentration would naturally lead to specific types of physical stress that conventional military medicine rarely encountered. "I'd like to schedule you for some additional tests," Dr. Webb said. "Nothing invasive, but I want to get a comprehensive assessment of your spinal alignment, joint mobility, and neurological function. Given what you've described about your service history, I think we should also consider a detailed ophthalmological examination to make sure those headaches aren't related to vision issues that could be addressed." Elena felt a wave of relief at Dr. Webb's practical, non-judgmental approach to her unique medical situation. For years, she had managed physical discomforts that she assumed were simply part of the price of her chosen profession, never considering that they might be addressable medical conditions rather than inevitable consequences of operational demands. "There's something else," Elena said, surprising herself with her willingness to continue the conversation. "The psychological aspects of the work I did, they were significant. Extended isolation, high-stress decision-making, situations where lives depended on split-second judgments. I've never really talked to anyone about how that might have affected me mentally." Dr. Webb's expression grew more serious as he recognized the implications of what Elena was sharing. Combat stress reactions among special operations personnel are well documented, but often under-addressed, particularly for individuals whose assignments couldn't be discussed through normal military mental health channels. "Elena, what you're describing sounds like you may have been dealing with operational stress that goes far beyond typical combat exposure. Have you ever been evaluated for post-traumatic stress, anxiety disorders, or other psychological effects related to your service?" "Not really," Elena replied. "During my classified assignments, psychological evaluations were focused on maintaining operational readiness rather than addressing long-term mental health. And since transitioning to conventional military service, I've been reluctant to seek mental health support because I couldn't explain the context of my experiences without violating security protocols." Dr. Webb nodded, understanding the impossible position that soldiers like Elena often found themselves in. Their most significant psychological stresses stemmed from experiences they couldn't discuss, creating a barrier to effective mental health treatment that could persist long after their classified service ended. "I want to help you address both the physical and psychological aspects of your health. There are ways to provide effective treatment for combat-related stress without requiring detailed disclosure of classified operations. I can refer you to mental health professionals who specialize in working with special operations personnel and who have the security clearances necessary to understand your background without compromising operational security." "I'd like that. Both the additional medical tests and the mental health referral. I've been dealing with these issues on my own for too long." Dr. Webb smiled, the first genuinely warm expression he had shown during their interaction. "That's what we're here for, Elena. Taking care of soldiers like you, soldiers who have given more than most people can imagine, is exactly why I chose to continue serving in military medicine after my active duty ended." As their conversation continued, Dr. Webb began outlining a comprehensive medical approach that would address Elena's unique health needs while respecting the classified nature of her service. He explained how the additional tests would help identify any long-term effects of her operational assignments, and how the mental health referrals would connect her with professionals who understood the psychological demands of elite military service. Elena found herself opening up to aspects of her health that she had never discussed with anyone. The chronic tension in her neck and shoulders that worsened during periods of stress, the hypervigilance that made it difficult to relax in crowds or unfamiliar environments, the way certain sounds or environmental conditions could trigger intense physiological responses that she had learned to suppress but never address. Dr. Webb listened to each detail with the attention of a medical professional who understood that Elena's experiences represented a unique case study in the intersection of elite military service and long-term health outcomes. But more than that, he approached her situation with the respect of one veteran recognizing the service and sacrifice of another veteran. Before we finish today, I want you to know that discovering your tattoo and learning about your background doesn't change anything about your privacy or your security clearances. Everything we've discussed stays between us, and any referrals I make will be to professionals who understand the importance of operational security. Elena nodded, feeling a level of trust and relief that she hadn't expected from a routine medical examination. Thank you, Doc, for understanding and for taking the time to really listen to what I needed. As Elena prepared to leave the examination room, Dr. Webb handed her a folder containing referral information and scheduling details for the additional tests he had recommended. But more importantly, he had provided something that Elena hadn't realized she needed: validation that her service-related health issues were legitimate medical concerns deserving of professional attention, rather than simply occupational hazards to be endured in silence. The sniper's cross tattooed between her shoulder blades had revealed more than just Elena's professional background. It had opened the door to a level of medical care and understanding that would help address years of accumulated physical and psychological stress, setting the stage for a journey toward health and healing that Elena was finally ready to begin.
3 days after her examination with Dr. Webb, Elena found herself in the military radiology department at Fort Braxton's medical center, preparing for the comprehensive spinal assessment he had recommended. The MRI facility was state-of-the-art, a far cry from the field medical stations where she had received treatment during her classified assignments overseas. As she lay on the examination table, waiting for the technician to begin the procedure, Elena's mind drifted back to the circumstances that had led her to this point. The transition from special operations to conventional military service had been more challenging than Elena had anticipated. After 3 years of operating in the shadows, where her skills as a precision marksman had made her one of the military's most valuable but invisible assets, adjusting to the routine and structure of regular Army life felt like learning to speak a different language. Every aspect of her previous service, from the independence of her decision-making to the intensity of her operational responsibilities, stood in stark contrast to the predictable rhythms of garrison duty. But it wasn't just the physical adjustment that had proven difficult. The physical and psychological toll of her classified service had accumulated in ways that Elena was only beginning to understand, thanks to Dr. Webb's perceptive examination and willingness to look beyond her official personnel file. For years, she had dismissed the chronic pain and mental fatigue as simply part of the price of her chosen profession. Now, as medical professionals began examining the long-term effects of her service, Elena was discovering that many of her assumed limitations might actually be treatable conditions. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The MRI technician, a cheerful sergeant named Rodriguez, explained the procedure as he helped Elena position herself for the scan. "We're going to get detailed images of your spine from the base of your skull down to your tailbone," he said, adjusting the positioning equipment. Dr. Webb specifically requested that we focus on the cervical and lumbar regions, looking for any signs of compression or alignment issues. The whole process should take about 45 minutes. As the machine began its rhythmic clicking and humming, Elena found herself thinking about the conversation she had scheduled for later that afternoon, her first appointment with Dr. Sarah Chen, the military psychologist whom Dr. Webb had recommended. Dr. Chen specialized in working with special operations personnel and possessed the security clearances necessary to understand Elena's background without compromising operational security. It would be Elena's first opportunity to discuss the psychological aspects of her service with someone who could provide professional insight rather than simply listening with well-intentioned but limited understanding.
The MRI results, when they came back 2 days later, revealed exactly what Dr. Webb had suspected based on Elena's description of her service history. Years of maintaining fixed positions while supporting heavy equipment had resulted in measurable changes to her spinal alignment. The vertebrae in her neck showed signs of compression consistent with extended periods spent in prone shooting positions, while her lower back displayed the kind of muscle tension and minor disc displacement that came from maintaining rigid postures under stress. The good news, Dr. Webb explained as he reviewed the images with Elena in his office, is that everything we're seeing is entirely treatable. You're looking at physical therapy, possibly some targeted strength training, and maybe some ergonomic adjustments to your current work routine. Nothing that requires surgery or long-term medication. Elena studied the black and white images of her own spine, seeing for the first time the physical evidence of her years in special operations. It was strange to realize that her most classified and dangerous assignments had left such concrete traces in her body's structure, visible proof of experiences that officially didn't exist. "How long will the physical therapy take?" Elena asked, already calculating how the treatment schedule would fit into her current duties. "That depends on how well you respond to treatment and how consistently you followed the prescribed exercises," Dr. Webb replied. "Based on what I've seen from other patients with similar backgrounds, I'd estimate 3 to 6 months of regular therapy to address the structural issues, followed by ongoing maintenance exercises to prevent recurrence." The physical therapy sessions began the following week at the base's rehabilitation center, under the supervision of Captain Lisa Martinez, a physical therapist who had worked extensively with special operations personnel. Captain Martinez approached Elena's case with the same combination of professional expertise and intuitive understanding that Dr. Webb had demonstrated, recognizing that Elena's physical issues were intimately connected to her unique military experiences. "Your body has basically been trained to operate in ways that prioritize mission effectiveness over long-term physical health," Captain Martinez explained during their first session. "What we're going to do is retrain your musculature and joint mobility to function effectively in your current role while addressing the accumulated stress from your previous assignments." The therapy sessions were more challenging than Elena had expected, not because the exercises were particularly strenuous, but because they required her to become conscious of physical habits that had become second nature during her years as a sniper. The way she held her shoulders when concentrating, the unconscious tension in her neck muscles when scanning an environment for potential threats, the slight forward lean of her posture that optimized her stability when aiming, but created long-term strain on her cervical spine. Meanwhile, Elena's sessions with Dr. Chen were proving equally revealing, though in ways that were more psychological than physical. Dr. Chen's office was deliberately designed to feel more like a comfortable living room than a clinical setting, with soft lighting and civilian furniture that helped create an atmosphere where Elena could discuss her experiences without feeling like she was undergoing evaluation or assessment. One of the challenges faced by personnel transitioning from special operations to conventional military or civilian environments is that the psychological skills that made them effective in their classified roles can become barriers to adjustment in conventional military or civilian environments. Hypervigilance, for example, is an asset when operating in hostile territory, but can create chronic stress when applied to everyday situations that don't actually require that level of alertness. Elena found herself nodding in recognition. She had noticed that crowds made her uncomfortable in ways they hadn't before her special operations service, that she automatically cataloged exits and potential threats in routine social situations, that she had difficulty relaxing her guard even in objectively safe environments like the base commissary or the post exchange. The goal isn't to eliminate those protective instincts, Dr. Chen continued, but to help you develop the ability to modulate them consciously, to dial up your alertness when the situation warrants it, and dial it down when you're in genuinely safe environments. As the weeks passed, Elena began to see improvement in both her physical and psychological well-being. The chronic pain in her back and neck diminished as the physical therapy addressed years of accumulated muscle tension. The headaches that had plagued her for months became less frequent as her neck alignment improved, and she learned to recognize and address stress patterns before they escalated into pain. Perhaps more significantly, Elena began to develop strategies for managing the psychological aftereffects of her classified service. Dr. Chen introduced techniques for conscious relaxation that allowed Elena to reduce her baseline state of alertness when circumstances permitted. They worked on cognitive strategies for distinguishing between actual threats and benign situations that triggered her protective instincts unnecessarily. Elena also began to understand that her experiences during classified service, while unique in their specific details, were part of a broader pattern experienced by many special operations personnel. The isolation, the high-stakes decision-making, the psychological pressure of operations where failure could result in loss of life, these were occupational hazards that had been studied and understood by military psychologists, even if the specific operational contexts remained classified. One of the things I want you to understand, Dr. Chen said during a session focused on Elena's sense of isolation since returning to conventional service, is that what you're experiencing isn't a sign of weakness or failure to adapt. It's a normal psychological response to extraordinary service circumstances. The fact that you're addressing these issues proactively puts you ahead of many personnel who try to manage similar transitions without professional support. Elena's progress became noticeable to her colleagues and superiors, though they attributed the changes to her natural adjustment to garrison life rather than understanding the comprehensive medical treatment she was receiving. Her posture improved, her chronic tension decreased, and she began to engage more socially with her unit members. The hypervigilance that had made her seem distant and unapproachable began to moderate into a more typical military alertness that didn't create barriers to normal interpersonal interaction. But perhaps the most significant change was Elena's growing sense that her classified service, rather than being a burden she had to bear alone, was becoming an integrated part of her military identity that she could acknowledge and address professionally. The sniper's cross tattoo that had initially been a source of anxiety during Dr. Webb's examination had become a symbol of experiences that deserved proper medical attention and psychological processing.
Dr. Webb monitored Elena's progress through regular follow-up appointments, tracking the improvements in her physical condition and coordinating with both Captain Martinez and Dr. Chen to ensure that her treatment remained comprehensive and integrated. During one such appointment, about 2 months into Elena's treatment program, he reflected on how her case had expanded his own understanding of the long-term health needs of special operations personnel. Your willingness to be open about your service history and health needs has helped us develop treatment protocols that we can apply to other personnel with similar backgrounds, Dr. Webb told Elena during one of their follow-up sessions. You're not just getting better, you're helping us understand how to better serve soldiers who have had comparable experiences. Elena appreciated knowing that her treatment was contributing to broader understanding of special operations health issues, but she was more focused on the practical improvements in her daily life. The chronic pain that had been her constant companion for months was now manageable, appearing only during periods of unusual stress or when she neglected her prescribed exercises. The headaches had become rare occurrences rather than weekly struggles. Most importantly, she was sleeping better than she had in years, as the combination of physical therapy and psychological treatment had addressed both the physical discomfort and the hypervigilance that had made truly restful sleep nearly impossible.
As Elena's treatment progressed into its 3rd month, an unexpected development occurred that would test everything she had learned about managing her transition from special operations to conventional military service. It began with a routine briefing that turned out to be anything but routine when her company commander, Captain James Morrison, requested her presence in his office for what he described as a special assignment consultation.
Captain Morrison was a career infantry officer who had served multiple combat deployments but had never worked directly with special operations units. Elena's personnel file, with its extensive redactions and classified annotations, had always puzzled him, but he had been content to evaluate her based on her performance in her current role, rather than speculating about her previous assignments. However, recent events had created a situation where Elena's unique background might prove invaluable. Staff Sergeant Vasquez, Captain Morrison began as Elena stood at attention in his office. I've received a request from Brigade Headquarters for personnel with specialized skills to support an upcoming training exercise. The exercise involves a joint operation with Special Forces units, and they're specifically looking for personnel with advanced marksmanship capabilities and experience working with elite units. Elena's felt a familiar tension begin to build in her shoulders as she processed the implications of Captain Morrison's words. She had assumed that her transition to conventional service would mark the permanent end of any involvement with special operations, but it appeared that her background was once again becoming relevant to her current duties. "What would my role be in this exercise, sir?" Elena asked, maintaining her professional demeanor while mentally preparing for whatever demands might be placed on her. They're looking for someone to serve as an opposing force sniper during a multi-day field exercise. The exercise involves a joint operation with Special Forces units, and they're specifically looking for personnel with advanced marksmanship capabilities and experience working with elite units. Elena's mind immediately began calculating the physical and psychological challenges that such an assignment would present. 5 days in mountainous terrain, operating as a lone marksman against Special Forces teams would essentially require her to resume the kind of high-stress, isolated operational mode that had defined her classified service. It was exactly the type of assignment that her recent medical treatment had been designed to help her move beyond. But Elena also recognized that this assignment represented an opportunity to test her progress in managing the physical and psychological challenges of her military specialty. Under controlled training conditions, with medical support available and clear operational parameters, she could determine whether the improvements in her health had been sufficient to allow her to occasionally resume specialized duties without triggering the negative effects that had necessitated her treatment. "I'm willing to participate in the exercise, sir," Elena replied, "but I'd like to request permission to consult with the medical staff about any special considerations related to the physical demands of the assignment." Captain Morrison nodded approvingly. "That sounds like a reasonable precaution. The exercise isn't scheduled for another 3 weeks, so you have time to prepare appropriately. And, Staff Sergeant, I want you to know that your participation is voluntary. If you have any concerns about the assignment, we can find alternative personnel." Elena appreciated Captain Morrison's consideration, but she found herself genuinely curious about how she would perform in a specialized role after months of treatment and adjustment. The prospect of returning to sniper duties, even in a training context, was both intimidating and appealing in ways she hadn't expected. Her next appointment with Dr. Webb took on added significance as Elena discussed the upcoming training exercise and its potential impact on her health and recovery. Dr. Webb listened carefully to the assignment details, asking specific questions about the duration, environmental conditions, and support structure that would be available during the exercise. "From a medical standpoint," Dr. Webb said after reviewing the exercise parameters, "I think this could actually be valuable for your ongoing recovery, assuming we take the right precautions. You've made excellent progress in addressing the physical and psychological effects of your previous service, but we haven't really tested how well you can manage specialized duties under controlled conditions." Dr. Webb outlined a series of preparations that would help Elena approach the training exercise as a learning opportunity rather than a potential setback. Additional physical therapy sessions focused on preparing her body for extended periods in prone positions, coordination with Dr. Chen to develop psychological strategies for managing the stress of resumed sniper duties. Most importantly, clear protocols for monitoring her physical and mental state during and after the exercise to ensure that it didn't trigger a regression in her progress. Elena's preparation for the training exercise became a collaborative effort involving her entire treatment team. Captain Martinez designed a specialized conditioning program that would prepare Elena's body for the physical demands of extended field operations while protecting the improvements they had achieved in her spinal alignment and muscle tension. The exercises focused on building endurance for maintaining shooting positions while incorporating the ergonomic principles she had learned during physical therapy. Dr. Chen worked with Elena to develop cognitive strategies for managing the psychological challenges of returning to sniper duties. They practiced techniques for maintaining operational effectiveness while avoiding the hypervigilance and isolation that had characterized Elena's previous specialized service. The goal was to demonstrate that Elena could perform effectively in her military specialty without sacrificing the psychological balance she had worked so hard to achieve. The key, Dr. Chen explained during one of their preparation sessions, is maintaining conscious awareness of your psychological state throughout the exercise. We want you to be operationally effective, but not at the expense of your long-term mental health. If you find yourself falling back into old patterns of chronic stress and hypervigilance, we need to recognize that early and make adjustments. Elena found the preparation process both challenging and reassuring. It was challenging because it required her to confront the possibility that specialized duties might still trigger the negative effects she had worked to overcome. But it was reassuring because she was approaching these challenges with professional support and clear strategies for managing potential difficulties. As the date of the training exercise approached, Elena reflected on how dramatically her relationship with her military specialty had evolved since her initial examination with Dr. Webb. The sniper's cross tattoo that once represented isolated professional identity now represented experiences that could be acknowledged, addressed, and integrated into a broader understanding of her military service and personal health. Elena's unit colleagues noticed her increased training intensity as she prepared for the upcoming exercise, though they remained unaware of the specific nature of her assignment or the comprehensive medical preparation that was supporting her efforts. To them, Elena appeared to be taking her professional development seriously, engaging in additional physical training and spending extra time at the rifle range to maintain her marksmanship skills. The night before the training exercise began, Elena met with her entire treatment team for a final preparation session. Dr. Webb reviewed the medical protocols that would be in place during the exercise, including regular check-ins and clear criteria for withdrawing from the assignment if her physical condition deteriorated. Dr. Chen reinforced the psychological strategies they had developed, emphasizing Elena's newfound ability to recognize and address stress patterns before they became problematic. Captain Martinez provided Elena with a portable kit of stretching and strengthening exercises that she could perform during the exercise to maintain her physical conditioning and prevent the muscle tension and joint stiffness that had previously been inevitable consequences of extended sniper operations. Remember, Dr. Webb said as their meeting concluded, this exercise is as much about gathering information about your capabilities as it is about supporting the Special Forces training. We're learning how well our treatment approaches work when you return to specialized duties, and that information will be valuable for your long-term health management. Elena left the meeting feeling more prepared and supported than she had ever felt before undertaking a specialized military assignment. For the first time in her career, she was approaching sniper duties with a comprehensive understanding of the physical and psychological demands involved and with professional strategies for managing those demands effectively. The training exercise would not only test Elena's tactical skills, but also the effectiveness of the medical treatment that had transformed her relationship with her military specialty. It represented a new chapter in her military service, one where her unique capabilities could be utilized without sacrificing her long-term health and well-being.
The morning of the training exercise dawned crisp and clear, with the kind of mountain weather that Elena had learned to appreciate during her years of specialized service. As she loaded her equipment into the transport vehicle that would take her to the exercise area, Elena felt a familiar mixture of anticipation and professional focus, but with an important difference. For the first time in her military career, she was approaching a sniper assignment with comprehensive medical support and clear strategies for maintaining her physical and psychological health throughout the operation.
The exercise scenario was designed to test Special Forces teams against a realistic sniper threat over a 5-day period covering approximately 50 square miles of mountainous terrain. Elena would operate as a lone opposing force marksman, attempting to identify and engage Special Forces personnel using training ammunition while the teams worked to locate and neutralize her position. It was the kind of assignment that perfectly matched Elena's specialized skills while providing valuable training for the Special Forces units. Elena's equipment loadout reflected the lessons learned from her recent medical treatment. Her rifle system incorporated ergonomic modifications that Captain Martinez had recommended to reduce stress on her neck and shoulders during extended aiming periods. Her field pack included the portable Exersense kit that would allow her to maintain her physical conditioning throughout the operation. Most importantly, she carried a detailed checklist of physical and psychological indicators that Dr. Chen had developed to help her monitor her condition during the exercise. The first day of the exercise unfolded exactly as Elena had hoped, demonstrating that her specialized skills remained sharp despite months of conventional military service. She successfully identified and engaged multiple Special Forces personnel using her training rounds, while remaining undetected by the teams attempting to locate her position. But more significantly, Elena found that she could perform effectively while maintaining the physical and psychological strategies she had learned during her treatment. During her first evening in the field, Elena completed the exercises that Captain Martinez had prescribed, stretching the muscle groups that were most susceptible to tension during sniper operations and performing strengthening movements that would help maintain her spinal alignment. She also practiced the relaxation techniques that Dr. Chen had taught her, consciously reducing her alertness level during periods when tactical vigilance wasn't required. The psychological aspects of the exercise proved more challenging than Elena had anticipated. Being alone in hostile territory, even in a training context, triggered many of the mental patterns that had characterized her classified service. The hypervigilance, the constant threat assessment, the isolation from normal human contact. All of these elements were present in the training exercise, creating an authentic test of Elena's ability to manage the psychological demands of specialized military operations. But Elena's preparation proved effective in helping her maintain psychological balance despite the operational stresses. She found that she could consciously modulate her alertness level, remaining tactically effective while avoiding the chronic hypervigilance that had previously made it difficult for her to rest or recover during field operations. The techniques Dr. Chen had taught her for distinguishing between actual threats and benign environmental stimuli helped her avoid the exhausting mental hyperactivity that had characterized her previous sniper assignments. By the third day of the exercise, Elena was demonstrating performance levels that exceeded the expectations of the Special Forces units she was opposing. Her ability to remain undetected while engaging multiple targets had forced the teams to modify their tactical approaches and develop new strategies for dealing with precision marksman threats. But perhaps more importantly, Elena was maintaining her effectiveness while preserving her physical and psychological health in ways that hadn't been possible during her classified service. The exercise controllers observing Elena's performance through electronic monitoring systems noted that she was operating with a level of tactical patience and strategic thinking that suggested exceptional operational maturity. Unlike many marksmen who relied primarily on technical shooting skills, Elena demonstrated an understanding of the broader tactical situation that allowed her to maximize her effectiveness while minimizing her exposure to counterattack. Elena's success in the exercise wasn't just about her marksmanship abilities, though those remained formidable. Her years of classified service had taught her to think like her opponents, to anticipate their likely courses of action and position herself accordingly. She understood the psychological pressures that Special Forces teams experience when operating against sniper threats, and she used that knowledge to influence their decision-making in ways that increased her tactical advantage. On the fourth day of the exercise, Elena faced her most significant challenge when one of the Special Forces teams came closer to locating her position than any opponent had managed during her classified service. The team's approach required Elena to remain motionless in a cramped hide position for over 8 hours, maintaining visual surveillance while avoiding detection by personnel who were actively searching for her location less than 200 meters away. It was exactly the kind of situation that had previously resulted in severe physical and psychological stress for Elena. The extended immobility, the intense concentration, the high stakes of remaining undetected, all of these factors had historically combined to create the chronic pain and mental exhaustion that had necessitated her medical treatment. But Elena's preparation proved its worth during this critical test. The ergonomic modifications to her equipment reduced the physical stress of maintaining her shooting position. The exercises she performed during brief moments when movement was possible helped prevent the muscle cramps and joint stiffness that would normally have developed. Most importantly, the psychological strategies she had learned allowed her to maintain tactical effectiveness without experiencing the overwhelming stress that had previously accompanied such situations. When the Special Forces team finally moved away from Elena's position without detecting her, she felt a sense of professional satisfaction that was notably different from her experiences during classified service. She had accomplished her tactical objectives while maintaining her physical comfort and psychological balance, something that hadn't been possible during her previous specialized assignments. The final day of the exercise provided Elena with an opportunity to demonstrate the full range of skills she had developed during her treatment and preparation. She successfully engaged multiple targets while repositioning across several miles of challenging terrain, maintaining her tactical effectiveness while preserving her physical and psychological health. The exercise concluded with Elena having achieved all of her assigned objectives while avoiding the negative health effects that had historically accompanied her specialized military duties. During the post-exercise debriefing with the Special Forces teams, Elena received recognition for performance that had challenged and educated some of the military's most elite units. But the professional praise, while gratifying, was less significant to Elena than the knowledge that she had successfully integrated her specialized military capabilities with comprehensive attention to her long-term health and well-being.
The success of Elena's participation in the Special Forces training exercise had unexpected consequences that would reshape not only her own military career, but also the way Fort Braxton approached the health and wellness needs of personnel with specialized military backgrounds. Word of her exceptional performance during the exercise reached brigade headquarters, where staff officers began discussing the possibility of establishing a formal program that would allow experienced special operations personnel to occasionally return to specialized duties while maintaining their conventional military assignments. Elena's post-exercise medical evaluation with Dr. Webb revealed results that exceeded everyone's expectations. The comprehensive monitoring that had been conducted throughout the 5-day operation showed that Elena had maintained excellent physical condition despite the demands of extended field operations. Her spinal alignment remained stable, her muscle tension stayed within normal ranges, and she had successfully prevented the chronic pain and physical deterioration that had historically accompanied her sniper assignments. What we've learned from your experience, Dr. Webb explained during their debriefing session, is that with proper preparation and ongoing medical support, personnel with your background can successfully manage specialized duties without compromising their long-term health. You've essentially proven that what we thought were inevitable consequences of sniper operations are actually preventable and manageable conditions. Elena's post-exercise psychological evaluation with Dr. Chen was equally encouraging. The techniques she had learned for managing stress and maintaining psychological balance had proven effective even under the intense pressures of field operations. Elena had demonstrated that she could perform at elite levels while avoiding the hypervigilance and isolation that had previously made such assignments psychologically destructive. Your ability to consciously modulate your stress responses during the exercise represents a significant achievement, Dr. Chen observed. You've developed skills that allow you to access the mental states necessary for specialized operations while maintaining the psychological flexibility needed for healthy adjustment to different military roles.
The training exercise had also provided valuable data about the effectiveness of Elena's treatment program, information that could be applied to help other personnel with similar backgrounds. Dr. Webb began documenting the specific medical interventions that had proven most effective in preparing Elena for the exercise, creating protocols that could be adapted for other special operations veterans transitioning to conventional military service. Elena's company commander, Captain Morrison, requested a detailed briefing about her performance during the exercise, both to understand her capabilities and to consider how her specialized skills might be integrated into the unit's ongoing training and operational planning. The briefing provided Elena with an opportunity to discuss her professional background more openly than had previously been possible, though always within the bounds of operational security requirements. Staff Sergeant Vasquez, Captain Morrison said during their post-exercise meeting, "Your performance during this training has given me a much better understanding of your capabilities and experience. I'd like to discuss how we might incorporate your specialized skills into our unit's ongoing training and readiness activities." Elena found herself in the unusual position of being able to discuss her professional background with her command structure in ways that had been impossible during her classified service. The comprehensive medical support she had received had given her confidence that she could take on additional responsibilities without sacrificing her health, while the successful exercise had demonstrated her continued effectiveness in specialized roles. Over the following weeks, Elena began serving as a marksmanship instructor for her unit, sharing advanced shooting techniques and tactical knowledge with soldiers who were eager to learn from someone with her proven expertise. The teaching role provided Elena with professional satisfaction while allowing her to contribute her specialized knowledge to the broader military mission in ways that didn't require the physical and psychological stresses of operational assignments. Elena's instruction went beyond basic marksmanship skills to include advanced topics like long-range ballistics, environmental factors affecting precision shooting, and the psychological aspects of tactical marksmanship. Her students, many of whom had never worked with someone of Elena's caliber, found themselves challenged to think about marksmanship as a comprehensive discipline rather than simply a technical skill. The most important thing to understand about precision shooting, Elena explained during one of her instruction sessions, is that the technical aspects, the equipment, the ballistics calculations, the shooting techniques, are only about 30% of what determines success. The other 70% is mental, your ability to remain calm under pressure, to make accurate observations and assessments, and to maintain focus over extended periods. Elena's teaching revealed talents that she hadn't fully recognized during her years of operational service. Her ability to break down complex tactical concepts into understandable components, combined with her patient approach to individual instruction, made her exceptionally effective at transferring knowledge and skills to other soldiers. Students who had struggled with advanced marksmanship concepts under previous instructors began showing significant improvement under Elena's guidance. The success of Elena's instructional activities led to additional opportunities within the broader Fort Braxton community. The base's Special Operations Support activity requested Elena's assistance in developing training scenarios for their advanced marksmanship courses. Her unique combination of operational experience and teaching ability made her valuable for creating realistic training exercises that would challenge students without overwhelming them. Elena also began working with the base's Medical Research Division, participating in studies designed to better understand the long-term health effects of Special Operations service. Her case had become a valuable example of how comprehensive medical intervention could address service-related health issues, and researchers were interested in documenting the specific treatments and strategies that had proven most effective. Your willingness to participate in this research, Dr. Webb explained during one of their regular follow-up appointments, is contributing to our understanding of how to better serve the entire special operations community. The protocols we've developed for your case are being adapted for use with other personnel facing similar health challenges. Elena's involvement in the research program provided her with insights into the broader medical and psychological challenges faced by special operations personnel. She learned that many of the issues she had experienced, chronic pain, hypervigilance, difficulty adjusting to conventional military service, were common among personnel transitioning from classified assignments. This knowledge helped Elena understand that her struggles had been part of a recognizable pattern rather than personal failures or unique challenges. As Elena's reputation as an instructor and subject matter expert grew, she received an unexpected opportunity that would test her readiness to take on greater responsibilities within her military career. Brigade headquarters offered her the chance to attend the Army's Advanced Marksmanship Instructor course, a prestigious program that would qualify her to teach marksmanship at the highest levels throughout the military education system. The instructor course represented a significant career opportunity, but it also required Elena to commit to a demanding academic and practical curriculum that would challenge both her technical knowledge and her teaching abilities. The program involved 6 months of intensive training, including advanced ballistics theory, instructional methodology, and practical teaching experience with students from across the military special operations community. Elena discussed the opportunity with her treatment team, evaluating whether the demands of the instructor course might interfere with her ongoing health management. Both Dr. Webb and Dr. Chen supported her participation, viewing it as evidence of her successful adaptation to military service that utilized her specialized background without compromising her well-being. This opportunity represents exactly the kind of career development that we hoped would become possible through your treatment program, Dr. Chen observed. You're able to take on challenging professional responsibilities because you now have effective strategies for managing the physical and psychological demands of your military specialization. Elena's acceptance into the Advanced Marksmanship Instructor course marked a turning point in her military career. For the first time since beginning her transition from special operations, she was moving toward increased responsibility and professional recognition rather than simply adapting to a reduced role. The sniper's cross tattoo that had once represented isolated and unsustainable military service was becoming a symbol of expertise that could be shared and utilized in ways that benefited both Elena and the broader military community. The instructor course would prove challenging in ways that Elena hadn't anticipated, requiring her to articulate and systematize knowledge that had previously been intuitive and experiential. But it also provided opportunities for professional growth and personal satisfaction that had been impossible during her years of classified service, when her achievements necessarily remained invisible and unrecognized. Elena's journey from a routine medical examination that revealed her secret tattoo to acceptance into one of the military's most prestigious instructor programs demonstrated the transformative power of comprehensive medical care and professional support. Her story was becoming an example of how personnel with specialized military backgrounds could successfully transition to roles that utilize their unique skills while maintaining their physical and psychological health.
The Advanced Marksmanship Instructor course at Fort Benning proved to be one of the most intellectually demanding challenges Elena had ever undertaken. Unlike her operational assignments, which had relied heavily on intuition and experience, the instructor course required her to deconstruct every aspect of her marksmanship expertise and rebuild it as systematic, teachable knowledge. Elena found herself working alongside some of the military's most accomplished marksmen, each bringing their own specialized experience to the rigorous academic and practical curriculum. The course began with advanced ballistics theory that went far beyond the practical calculations Elena had used during her operational service. Students were required to understand the mathematical principles underlying projectile flight, environmental effects, and equipment performance at a level that would allow them to explain these concepts to future students with varying levels of technical background. For Elena, this meant translating years of intuitive understanding into precise scientific language.
The difference between being an exceptional shooter and being an exceptional instructor, explained Master Sergeant Thompson, the course's senior instructor, is the ability to analyze your own performance systematically and communicate that analysis effectively to others. You need to understand not just what works, but why it works and how to teach others to make it work for them. Elena's classmates represented an extraordinary collection of military marksmanship expertise. There were Marine Corps Scout snipers with multiple combat deployments, Army Rangers with extensive urban combat experience, and Special Forces personnel who had served in every major conflict zone of the past decade. The diversity of backgrounds created a learning environment where each student could contribute unique perspectives while learning from others' experiences. The academic portions of the course challenged Elena to think about marksmanship as an educational discipline rather than simply a military skill. She studied instructional theory, learning how to structure lessons that would accommodate different learning styles and skill levels. She practiced developing curricula that would progress logically from basic concepts to advanced applications, ensuring that students would build solid foundations before attempting more challenging techniques. Elena's operational background proved particularly valuable during the course's practical exercises, where students were required to demonstrate both their shooting abilities and their capacity to teach others. Her years of making precision shots under extreme stress had given her insights into the psychological aspects of marksmanship that many technically proficient shooters had never fully appreciated. One of the things I've learned, Elena explained during a practical teaching exercise, is that the mental game of precision shooting is often more important than the technical aspects. You can have perfect equipment and perfect technique, but if you can't manage your stress responses and maintain focus under pressure, you won't perform when it matters. Elena's teaching demonstrations during the course earned recognition from the instructional staff, who noted her ability to connect with students who were struggling with advanced concepts. Her patient approach and clear explanations helped other course participants understand aspects of marksmanship that had previously frustrated them, establishing Elena as one of the course's most effective peer instructors. The course also required students to specialize in particular aspects of marksmanship instruction, and Elena chose to focus on the integration of technology with traditional shooting skills. Her operational background had exposed her to some of the military's most advanced optics and ballistic computers, giving her unique insights into how technological tools could enhance rather than replace fundamental marksmanship abilities. Elena's project specialization involved developing instructional materials for teaching soldiers how to effectively integrate advanced optics systems with their basic shooting skills. The project required her to research the latest technological developments in military optics, while creating practical exercises that would help students understand when to rely on technology and when to depend on fundamental skills. Technology can make a good shooter better, but it cannot make a poor shooter good. The key to effective instruction is helping students understand that technological tools are force multipliers that enhance solid fundamentals rather than substitutes for proper training and practice. Elena's project earned the highest evaluation scores in her class, with instructors praising her practical approach to integrating complex technology with basic military training requirements. Her work was selected for inclusion in the course's permanent instructional library, where it would be available to future instructor candidates and military education developers. As the course progressed toward its final evaluations, Elena found herself increasingly confident in her new role as a military educator. The routine medical exam that had revealed her sniper's cross tattoo 18 months earlier had led to a journey of medical treatment, personal growth, and career development that had exceeded everyone's expectations. The training center where Elena would be working was located in a modern facility specifically designed to support advanced marksmanship education. The building included high-tech classrooms equipped with ballistic simulation systems, indoor ranges with sophisticated target systems, and outdoor ranges that could accommodate training at distances exceeding 1,500 meters. Elena would have access to some of the military's most advanced equipment and resources, enabling her to provide students with training opportunities that reflected the current state of marksmanship technology and technique. Elena's new position also came with the opportunity to influence the development of marksmanship training throughout the military education system.
Her recommendations and course developments would be distributed to training centers across the military, allowing her expertise to benefit soldiers and Marines she might never meet personally, but who would benefit from her knowledge and experience. Elena's first weeks at the Precision Marksmanship Training Center exceeded all her expectations for professional satisfaction and personal fulfillment. The facility's advanced capabilities, combined with the caliber of students who attended the programs, created an educational environment that challenged Elena to continuously expand her own knowledge while sharing her expertise with others. Her students included personnel from Army Special Forces, Navy SEALs, Marine Corps Force Reconnaissance, and Air Force Special Operations, creating a learning community that represented the full spectrum of military precision marksmanship applications. The diversity of Elena's students required her to adapt her instructional approaches to accommodate different operational backgrounds and mission requirements. Special Forces personnel needed training that emphasized long-range precision in support of reconnaissance and direct action missions. SEAL team members required instruction that integrated marksmanship with maritime and urban environments. Force Reconnaissance Marines needed skills that supported their intelligence gathering and force protection responsibilities. Each group brought unique challenges that pushed Elena to think creatively about how to apply fundamental marksmanship principles to specialized operational contexts. Elena's first major course at the training center was a 2-week advanced precision marksmanship program designed for experienced military marksmen who needed to upgrade their skills to meet evolving operational requirements. The 16 students in her inaugural class represented over 200 years of combined military experience, including multiple combat veterans and several soldiers who had earned recognition as expert marksmen within their respective units. Ladies and gentlemen, Elena began her opening lecture, standing before a classroom of some of the military's most accomplished personnel. Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to challenge everything you think you know about precision marksmanship. Not because what you know is wrong, but because the operational environment is constantly evolving, and our capabilities need to evolve with it. Elena's approach to instruction emphasized the integration of traditional marksmanship fundamentals with advanced technology and contemporary tactical requirements. Her lessons included detailed analysis of ballistic software, instruction in the use of advanced range-finding and environmental measurement systems, and practical exercises that simulated the kind of challenging conditions students might encounter during operational assignments. But Elena's most significant contribution to the training program was her emphasis on the psychological and physiological aspects of precision marksmanship. Her operational experience had taught her that technical proficiency was only one component of effective performance under stress, and she was uniquely qualified to help students understand and develop the mental skills necessary for consistent performance in high-pressure situations. The difference between good performance on the range and effective performance in the field, Elena explained during one of her lectures, is your ability to maintain technical precision while managing the psychological and physiological effects of stress. We're going to spend significant time learning how to recognize and control those effects. Elena's stress management instruction drew heavily on the techniques she had learned from Dr. Chen during her own psychological treatment. She taught students how to use controlled breathing to manage heart rate and muscle tension, how to develop focus techniques that could be maintained during extended operations, and how to recognize early signs of performance degradation due to stress or fatigue. The practical exercises in Elena's courses were designed to progressively increase stress levels while requiring students to maintain shooting precision. Students practiced making precision shots after physical exertion that elevated their heart rates and breathing. They learned to shoot accurately while managing time pressure and simulated tactical constraints. Most challengingly, they practiced maintaining performance standards while dealing with equipment malfunctions and environmental complications that required real-time adaptation. In the real world, Elena told her students during a particularly demanding practical exercise, you'll never have perfect conditions. Your equipment will malfunction at the worst possible moment. The weather will change. Your target will do something unexpected. The mark of a professional is the ability to adapt and perform despite those challenges. Elena's students responded enthusiastically to her demanding but supportive instructional approach. Many had attended advanced marksmanship courses before, but few had experienced instruction that integrated technical skills with psychological preparation as comprehensively as Elena's program. The combination of her operational credibility and her systematic teaching methodology created a learning environment that challenged students while building their confidence. One of Elena's most significant innovations was the integration of medical knowledge into marksmanship instruction. Her experience with the comprehensive medical treatment she had received gave her unique insights into the physical demands of precision shooting and the long-term health considerations that career marksmen needed to understand. "Your body is your primary piece of equipment," Elena explained during a session focused on shooter health and conditioning. "Just like you maintain your rifle and optics, you need to maintain your physical condition in ways that support your marksmanship performance. Poor posture, muscle imbalances, and chronic tension will degrade your shooting ability over time." Elena taught her students the same exercises and ergonomic principles that Captain Martinez had used in her physical therapy program. She showed them how to recognize and address the early signs of physical stress that could affect shooting performance, and how to maintain their bodies for sustainable, long-term marksmanship careers. Students appreciated Elena's attention to the health aspects of marksmanship because many had experienced chronic pain or physical limitations that they had assumed were inevitable consequences of their profession. Elena's instruction gave them practical tools for preventing and addressing these issues, potentially extending their careers and improving their quality of life. Elena's success at the training center also created opportunities for her to contribute to broader military education initiatives. She was invited to participate in curriculum development for the Army's new Designated Marksman program, which aimed to improve marksmanship capabilities throughout conventional military units. Her experience teaching from diverse backgrounds made her valuable for creating instructional materials that could be adapted for use with personnel who had varying levels of shooting experience. The curriculum development work required Elena to collaborate with military education specialists from across the Department of Defense, exposing her to educational theory and instructional design principles that enhanced her already considerable teaching abilities. She learned to create comprehensive training programs that could be implemented consistently across different installations and instructional contexts. Elena's contributions to the Designated Marksman program were particularly focused on developing assessment criteria that would ensure consistent standards while accommodating the different operational requirements of various military units. Her operational experience gave her insights into the practical applications of marksmanship skills that purely academic education specialists might not fully appreciate. The challenge in developing military education programs, Elena explained during a curriculum development workshop, is creating standards that are both rigorous enough to ensure competence and flexible enough to accommodate the different missions and environments where these skills will be applied. As Elena's reputation within the military education community grew, she began receiving invitations to speak at professional conferences and to contribute articles to military professional journals. These opportunities allowed her to share her expertise with audiences beyond her immediate students, contributing to broader discussions about marksmanship training, military education, and the integration of operational experience with academic instruction. Elena's first professional article, published in the Army's Professional Development Quarterly, focused on the importance of psychological preparation in marksmanship training. The article drew on her operational experience and her personal journey through psychological treatment to argue that mental skills training should be considered as important as technical shooting instruction. "We have become exceptionally good at teaching soldiers how to shoot accurately, but we have been less successful at teaching them how to maintain that accuracy under the psychological pressures of actual operations. Military marksmanship training must evolve to address both the technical and the psychological aspects of performance if we want to produce marksmen who are truly effective in operational environments." The article was well received by military education professionals and led to additional writing opportunities for Elena. She began working on a comprehensive training manual that would integrate technical marksmanship instruction with psychological preparation and physical conditioning, creating a holistic approach to precision shooting education. Elena's success as an instructor and education developer was recognized through her selection for promotion to Sergeant First Class, an advancement that came with increased responsibilities at the training center and opportunities to influence marksmanship training at even higher levels within the military education system. The promotion ceremony, held at Fort Braxton with Elena's colleagues and medical support team in attendance, represented a celebration of both her professional achievements and her successful management of the health challenges that had initially threatened her military career. Dr. Webb, Dr. Chen, and Captain Martinez were all present to witness Elena's recognition, seeing the culmination of the comprehensive treatment program they had developed together. Staff Sergeant Elena Vasquez, announced Colonel Patterson, the training center commander, during the promotion ceremony, has demonstrated exceptional professional competence, instructional ability, and dedication to the advancement of military marksmanship capabilities. Her contributions to our training programs have enhanced the skills of hundreds of military personnel and influenced marksmanship education throughout the Department of Defense.
Elena's promotion came with assignment as the senior instructor for the training center's most advanced courses, including a new program designed specifically for personnel transitioning from operational assignments to instructional roles. The program would serve personnel with backgrounds similar to Elena's own, helping them adapt their operational experience to educational responsibilities while managing the health and adjustment challenges that such transitions often involved. The opportunity to work with personnel facing similar challenges to those she had overcome gave Elena a sense of professional purpose that went beyond simple job satisfaction. She would be able to use her experience to help others navigate the complex process of transitioning from operational assignments to roles that utilized their expertise in sustainable ways. Elena's new responsibilities also included serving as a liaison between the training center and the base medical facilities, helping to ensure that instruction programs remained sensitive to the health and wellness needs of both instructors and students. Her unique combination of operational experience, educational expertise, and personal experience with comprehensive military medical care made her ideally qualified for this role. As Elena reflected on the journey that had brought her from a routine medical examination to a position of leadership within military education, she was struck by how the discovery of her Sniper's Cross tattoo had ultimately led to opportunities and achievements that wouldn't have been possible without the comprehensive treatment and support she had received. The tattoo that had once represented isolated and potentially unsustainable military service had become a symbol.
2 years after Dr. Webb first saw the Sniper's Cross tattoo that would change Elena's military career forever, Elena found herself standing before the largest audience she had ever addressed. Over 300 military personnel gathered at Fort Leavenworth for the Army's annual Education and Training Conference. She had been invited to deliver the keynote presentation on integrating operational experience with educational excellence, a topic that had become central to her professional identity and personal mission. Elena's presentation drew on her journey from classified operations through comprehensive medical treatment to her current role as one of the military's most respected marksmanship educators. But more than simply recounting her personal story, Elena used her experience to illustrate broader principles about military education, health and wellness, and the sustainable utilization of specialized military expertise. Ladies and gentlemen, Elena began her presentation, looking out at an audience that included general officers, senior enlisted leaders, and education professionals from across the military. I want to talk to you today about the difference between utilizing military expertise and exploiting it, the difference between honoring service and consuming it, and the difference between short-term operational effectiveness and long-term military capability. Elena's presentation challenged conventional assumptions about how the military should manage personnel with specialized operational experience. Rather than viewing such personnel as resources to be used until exhaustion, Elena argued for approaches that would preserve and develop their expertise while protecting their long-term health and career sustainability. She described her own experience as an example of how comprehensive medical support, professional development opportunities, and thoughtful career management could transform potentially career-ending health challenges into foundations for continued service and increased contribution to military capabilities. When Dr. Webb first saw my tattoo during that medical examination, Elena told her audience, "I thought it might represent the end of my ability to serve effectively.
Instead, it became the beginning of a journey that has allowed me to contribute more to military capabilities than I ever could have during my operational service. Elena's presentation included detailed discussion of the medical protocols that had enabled her transition from operational assignments to educational responsibilities. She emphasized the importance of recognizing that specialized military service created unique health challenges that required specialized medical responses, and that addressing these challenges proactively could prevent more serious problems while preserving valuable military expertise. The audience response to Elena's presentation was overwhelmingly positive, with numerous questions and comments that demonstrated genuine interest in applying her insights to similar challenges throughout the military education system. Senior leaders expressed particular interest in Elena's arguments about the long-term benefits of investing in comprehensive support for personnel transitioning from operational to educational roles. Following her presentation, Elena was approached by representatives from the Army Medical Command who were interested in developing formal protocols based on the treatment approach that had been so successful in her case. They saw potential for creating standardized programs that could be implemented at military medical facilities throughout the system, helping other personnel who faced similar challenges. Elena's collaboration with the Army Medical Command led to her participation in a comprehensive research study designed to document the medical and psychological interventions that had proven most effective for personnel transitioning from special operations to conventional military service. The study would follow multiple personnel through similar treatment programs, gathering data that could be used to refine and improve the approaches Elena had helped pioneer. Your case has become a model for how we should approach the health and wellness needs of our most specialized personnel, Dr. Webb explained during one of their research collaboration sessions. But more than that, it's demonstrated that addressing these needs isn't just beneficial for individual personnel, it's essential for preserving and developing military capabilities. Elena's research participation involved regular interviews, medical assessments, and psychological evaluations designed to document the long-term effects of the comprehensive treatment program. The data would be used to support policy recommendations about military medical care, personnel management, and education program development. The research also created opportunities for Elena to work with other personnel who had similar backgrounds and were facing comparable challenges. She began serving as a peer mentor for soldiers transitioning from special operations assignments, sharing her experience and providing practical guidance about navigating the medical and professional support systems that could facilitate successful transitions. Elena's mentoring work proved particularly valuable because she could speak from direct experience about challenges that were difficult for personnel without similar backgrounds to fully understand. The isolation, the identity adjustments, the physical and psychological effects of specialized military service. Elena had navigated all of these challenges successfully and could provide both practical and emotional support to others facing similar situations. Elena's most rewarding mentoring relationship involved working with Master Sergeant Maria Santos, a former Special Forces medic, who was struggling with chronic pain and adjustment difficulties following her transition to a training command assignment. Elena's guidance helped Maria access comprehensive medical care and develop strategies for managing her transition challenges while utilizing her specialized medical expertise in educational roles. When Elena showed me that what I was experiencing wasn't a sign of weakness or failure, Maria explained during a follow-up interview for the research study, she helped me understand that the challenges I was facing were normal responses to extraordinary service circumstances and that there were professional resources available to help me address those challenges effectively. Elena's success as a mentor led to her formal appointment as the transition coordinator for the Army Special Operations Education Initiative, a new program designed to help personnel with specialized operational backgrounds transition to educational and training roles. The position represented recognition of Elena's unique qualifications and her demonstrated ability to help others navigate similar career transitions successfully. The Special Operations Education Initiative was designed to address what military leaders had recognized as a critical capability gap: the military's need to preserve and utilize specialized operational expertise while providing personnel with sustainable career paths that didn't require continued operational assignments. Elena's role involved developing transition programs, coordinating medical support, and ensuring that personnel received comprehensive assistance during their career changes. Elena's work with the initiative took her to military installations throughout the United States, where she conducted workshops, provided individual counseling, and helped establish local support programs for personnel transitioning from operational to educational roles. Her travels gave her opportunities to meet with dozens of soldiers, Marines, sailors, and airmen who had served in specialized capacities and were seeking ways to continue contributing to military capabilities in sustainable ways. Each person Elena worked with brought unique challenges and circumstances, but she found common themes in their experiences that validated the approaches she had developed through her own transition process. the importance of comprehensive medical care, the value of professional development opportunities, the need for peer support and mentorship, these elements proved consistently important for successful transitions regardless of individual differences in background and circumstances. Elena's work with the initiative also involved collaboration with senior military leaders who were interested in developing policies and programs that would better support personnel transitions throughout the military system. Her practical experience and documented success made her a valuable advisor for policy development efforts at the highest levels of military leadership. During one policy development session at the Pentagon, Elena found herself briefing a panel of general officers about the initiative's effectiveness and recommendations for expanding similar programs throughout the Department of Defense. The briefing represented a remarkable professional achievement for someone who had begun her transition journey with concerns about whether her specialized background would allow for continued effective military service. The data we've collected through the Special Operations Education Initiative, Elena reported to the panel, demonstrates that comprehensive support for personnel transitions doesn't just benefit individual service members, it enhances overall military capability by preserving and developing specialized expertise that might otherwise be lost to the system. Elena's briefing included specific recommendations for policy changes that would institutionalize the approaches that had proven successful through the initiative. Her recommendations were incorporated into new Department of Defense guidance on personnel management and military medical care, ensuring that her insights would influence military personnel policies for years to come. As Elena reflected on the remarkable journey that had brought her from a routine medical examination to a position of influence in military policy development, she understood that her story represented more than just individual success. It demonstrated the military's capacity to adapt and improve its approaches to caring for personnel with specialized backgrounds, and the potential for transforming challenges into opportunities for enhanced capability and improved service member welfare. The Sniper's Cross tattoo that had once represented isolated and potentially unsustainable military service had become a symbol of the military's commitment to preserving and developing its most specialized expertise while caring comprehensively for the personnel who possessed that expertise. Elena's journey had helped establish new standards for military medical care, education, and personnel management that would benefit countless other service members facing similar challenges and transitions.
5 years had passed since that pivotal moment when Dr. Webb first laid eyes on Elena's Sniper's Cross tattoo during what was supposed to be a routine medical examination. As Elena sat in her office at the newly established Military Transition and Wellness Institute at Fort Sam Houston, she found herself reviewing the remarkable transformation that had occurred not just in her own life, but in the military's entire approach to supporting personnel with specialized operational backgrounds. The Institute, which Elena now directed as a newly promoted Master Sergeant, had become the military's premier center for developing comprehensive support programs for personnel transitioning from special operations and other high-stress assignments to sustainable career paths within the military education and training communities. What had begun as an individual medical case had evolved into a systematic approach to preserving and developing the military's most specialized human capabilities. Elena's office walls displayed certificates and awards that reflected her professional achievements: recognition from the Army Education Command, commendation from the Surgeon General's office, and acknowledgement from military medical research organizations. But the items that held the most meaning for Elena were the photographs and letters from the hundreds of military personnel whose transitions she had supported through the programs she had helped develop. There was a photograph from Master Sergeant Santos, who had overcome her chronic pain issues and was now serving as the senior medical instructor at the Army's Special Operations Medical Training Center. A letter from Staff Sergeant Johnson, a former explosive ordnance disposal technician who had successfully transitioned to teaching advanced technical skills after addressing service-related anxiety through the comprehensive support programs Elena had helped establish. Most significantly, there was a recent photograph from the graduation ceremony of the Institute's newest class of transition specialists, 24 military personnel who had completed the comprehensive training program that would enable them to provide the same kind of support Elena had received to others facing similar challenges throughout the military system. Elena's work at the Institute represented the culmination of everything she had learned about the intersection of specialized military service,
comprehensive medical care, and sustainable career development. The programs she oversaw addressed not only the immediate health and wellness needs of transitioning personnel, but also the long-term career development and professional fulfillment that enabled them to continue contributing meaningfully to military capabilities. The Institute's approach was built on the comprehensive model that had proven so successful in Elena's own case. Each person entering the program received thorough medical evaluation to identify and address service-related health issues. Psychological support helped individuals process their experiences and develop strategies for managing the mental challenges of career transitions. Professional development opportunities ensured that their specialized expertise could be utilized effectively in their new roles. But the Institute's programs went beyond simply replicating Elena's treatment approach. Years of research and experience had enabled the development of specialized tracks for different types of military specialties and career transitions. There were programs specifically designed for intelligence personnel, special operations medical specialists, cyber warfare experts, and numerous other military specialties that required unique approaches to transition support. Elena's leadership of the Institute had also created opportunities for her to influence military policy at the highest levels. She regularly briefed congressional committees on military personnel issues, consulted with Department of Defense leadership on policy development, and collaborated with academic researchers studying military health and wellness. Her unique combination of operational experience, educational expertise, and policy knowledge made her one of the military's most respected authorities on personnel transition issues. The success of the Institute's programs had attracted attention from international military organizations, and Elena found herself frequently traveling to provide consultation and training to allied military forces facing similar challenges with their own specialized personnel. Her expertise had become valuable not only within the U.S. military, but also for military organizations around the world seeking to improve their approaches to personnel management and healthcare. During one recent international consultation trip to Australia, Elena had worked with the Australian Defence Force to establish their own version of transition support programs for special operations personnel. The experience had given her perspective on how the challenges faced by specialized military personnel were common across different military cultures and organizational structures. What we've learned, Elena explained during a presentation to Australian military leaders, is that the human effects of specialized military service are remarkably consistent regardless of national differences in training methods or operational environments. The solutions that work in the American military system can be adapted to work effectively in other military contexts as well. Elena's international work had also created opportunities for collaborative research with military medical organizations in allied countries. She was currently participating in a multinational study examining the long-term health outcomes of different approaches to supporting personnel transitions, research that would inform military medical policy across multiple countries. But despite her professional achievements and international recognition, Elena's greatest satisfaction came from the direct impact of her work on individual military personnel. Each successful transition she facilitated, each career saved from premature ending due to unaddressed health issues, each specialized capability preserved for continued military service. These represented the meaningful outcomes that had motivated her work from its beginning. Elena's personal health had continued to improve throughout her years at the Institute. The comprehensive medical care that had initially been necessary to address her service-related issues had evolved into a maintenance program that kept her in excellent physical and psychological condition while allowing her to handle increasingly demanding professional responsibilities. Dr. Webb, who had remained Elena's primary care physician throughout her journey, often reflected on how Elena's case had influenced his own understanding of military medicine and the potential for comprehensive treatment approaches to transform both individual outcomes and broader military capabilities. Elena's case taught me that military medicine needs to think beyond simply treating symptoms or managing immediate health issues. We need to approach military healthcare as an investment in long-term capability development rather than simply a cost of maintaining personnel readiness. Dr. Chen, who continued to provide psychological consultation for the Institute's programs, had also found that her work with Elena had influenced her broader understanding of military mental health and the potential for comprehensive psychological support to enhance rather than simply maintain military performance. What Elena's journey demonstrated, Dr. Chen observed, is that addressing the psychological effects of specialized military service isn't just about preventing problems. It's about developing psychological capabilities that can enhance performance and career satisfaction in whatever roles personnel move into after their operational assignments. Captain Martinez, now promoted to major and serving as the Institute's Director of Physical Wellness Programs, had used her experience with Elena's case to develop comprehensive physical therapy and conditioning approaches that were being implemented at military medical facilities throughout the system. Elena's story had also influenced broader military culture in ways that extended beyond the specific programs she had helped develop. Her example of successfully managing the transition from special operations to educational roles had inspired other personnel to seek similar career paths, creating a growing community of former operators who were contributing to military capabilities through education, training, and policy development rather than continued operational assignments. The sniper's cross tattoo that had initially caused so much concern during Elena's medical examination had become, in a very real sense, a symbol of the military's evolution in understanding how to preserve and develop its most specialized human capabilities. Elena occasionally reflected on how that simple design had become the catalyst for changes that affected thousands of military personnel and influenced military policy at the highest levels. As Elena prepared for her next major professional challenge, she had been selected for promotion to sergeant major and assignment as the senior enlisted advisor for all military transition programs within the Department of Defense. She understood that her journey represented more than individual achievement. It demonstrated the military's capacity for institutional learning and adaptation, its commitment to caring comprehensively for its personnel, and its recognition that specialized human capabilities were resources to be developed and preserved rather than simply consumed. The routine medical examination that had revealed Elena's secret tattoo had become the beginning of a transformation that continued to influence military personnel policies, medical care approaches, and career development programs years later.
Elena's story had proven that challenges could become opportunities, that individual cases could influence institutional change, and that comprehensive support for military personnel wasn't just beneficial for individuals. It was essential for maintaining and developing military capabilities. Elena's legacy was already established through the programs she had helped create, the personnel she had supported, and the policies she had influenced. But as she looked toward her new responsibilities and the opportunities they would create to further improve military personnel support systems, Elena understood that her most significant contributions might still lie ahead. The sniper's cross tattooed between her shoulder blades had revealed far more than Elena's operational background during that examination with Dr. Webb. It had revealed the potential for military medicine, education, and personnel management to evolve in ways that honored both individual service and institutional capability. Elena's journey from that examination room to her current position of influence represented not just personal success, but institutional transformation that would continue benefiting military personnel for generations to come.
As Elena locked her office that evening and headed home to prepare for another day of supporting military personnel through their own challenging transitions, she carried with her the satisfaction of knowing that her story had become part of a larger narrative about the military's commitment to its people and its recognition that caring comprehensively for personnel wasn't just the right thing to do, it was essential for maintaining the specialized capabilities that modern military service required. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.